Nursing job abroad, how to adapt. Today we are again with Lorenzo Pilastri, our friend, nurse and life coach, to talk about how to integrate in a new job abroad. So in a new country, in a new situation, but in a new job in a specific topic.
Hello. Hi.
Hi Lorenzo, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you very much for being with us again. If there are somebody who didn't watch the previous interview with Lorenzo, very interesting, you can find the interview in the link above. And so today we're going to talk in the specific topic, how to integrate in a new job. So this is quite important and quite useful for every new job we're going to start. But today we're talking the specific how adapt in a nursing job abroad. Please, Lorenzo.
So the last time that we had a chat, we talked about more on a personal level, what to do to succeed abroad and how to face life abroad, and we gave some technical advice, some new things, some things that we knew. But this time we want to focus more on how to adapt in a nursing job. What is it to be a nurse abroad? I have lived it myself, coming from Italy. You have lived it yourself. So we might put our own experience into the conversation, because I think it's very valuable sometimes, not only the theory, but to share what is it, no, in reality. So I'm gonna talk about it on a personal level. What is it to be a nurse abroad, and what is it that we should do? Some tips and advice to help on a personal level, and then we're gonna jump into what is in a group level. So in this case, with the colleagues, and if you have seen the first part of the video, I talk about that I developed a method to help the colleagues to work in between each other in a better way, in between nurses colleague, and I'm going to talk about that as well. So let's crack on, and I'm going to talk on a personal level. I am a fan of Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things that you can take out from that book, which is very important for life in general, but we can apply, of course, in nursing, is to begin with an end in mind. And when we talk about to begin with an end in mind, we could talk about hours about this topic, because we know how difficult sometimes is to know where we are going. And it's really a process, a journey that shapes us, that our experience makes us what we are now. And sometimes we do get lost. But to have and to spend some time knowing what is the end, what is the objective where we're going towards, is going to help you to do some actions, to put your energy into the end and to the objective that you want to achieve.
So you mean your goals?
Your goals, exactly. We don't always talk about end goals and objectives, and more or less they're the same things, no? The things you want to achieve. One of the way that we can start thinking about knowing what the end is to like you are in a film and you see in your funeral today. Now it seems like a bit bad to talk about your funeral today, but at the same time it makes you think, if it would be my funeral today and my life would finish now, what did I do? What was my goal? What is it, the things that I haven't achieved that I wanted to do. And that is the first step, to think about what am I doing right now to do what makes me happy, what I want to achieve in life, what is it worth it to work for in this life. And I advise this to do it for every nurse that we have listening to us, because I truly believe that as a nurse, sometimes we start very general, we don't know where we are going, but I always say you cannot be the best at everything, but you can be the best at something. So when you think about your career as a nurse, my advice is also to think, what is my passion in nursing? What is it that I like doing? What is it that makes me so happy that I'm going to specialize into that field? Because we can give much more if we specialize in one single thing than if we specialize in everything. There's nobody specialized in everything, right?
It's
Even
impossible as well.
Exactly. So you will always have that colleague that knows everything, right? But it's impossible that he knows everything. And I advise to specialize in something, to develop an expertise that is unique for that field. And that's why
it's not necessary, if I understood, it's not necessary as specialization in nursing field.
No, not special, not like that. But it is important to know where we are going. That's my point, right? And they call it the way to achieve things, right? We can have very high and difficult goals to achieve, but we should do like they call it the Zorro circle theory. We know.
I know about it.
Yeah.
I read a bit, but I read about it.
It's like when we know who Zorro is. It was the hero with the sword that would save everybody, and in his training, he would have all the circles around him, and we should see those circles as the objectives we need to achieve. And they're small. The first one are very small, and the last one are farther and bigger. So stepping into those circles, it means you achieve a certain goals. The bigger circle is the bigger goal. The small circle is a smaller goal. But in order to get to the bigger, you need to achieve the small. And that's the approach we should have. We cannot think that we're gonna achieve everything in the first weeks, in the first month, whatever you're gonna do. And in nursing is the same. We need to learn. We need to go through small objectives, and that's what we should do. Put small objectives to reach the higher. And that's what I would advise when I say begin with an end in mind, to know where you're going. Start small and grow big. Another advice that is gonna help when you are abroad, when you work, and I would say is more difficult to achieve for who in the UK, for example, you do long days or nights, which is a 12-hour shift, is to do at least one single thing that makes you happy, that makes you fulfilled during that day. For me, for example, is cooking. When I finish a day of work and I'm destroyed, and the only thing I would think was just to lie on the sofa or go to sleep and eat something quick, I try and push myself to do something that if I do in the end of the day, then I feel that I have achieved something, that it was a day worth it, and it was not only about the work. And for me, it's cooking, because the act of cooking, the act of eating something nice that I've cooked myself, makes me happy. It makes that my day was worth it, that I did something for myself. And realizing that we do need those type of things, those type of activity during the day is very important. So what is it that makes you happy outside of work that's gonna make you perform well also at work? So let's always, let's never think about our life as in blocks. They're never blocks. All the circle influence the others, and we need to be careful on having a balance in all these little parts of our life, in all the blocks. I would say again a balanced diet, because as we said in the first episode, a balanced diet change the game, change the way you feel, the way you eat. Whatever we eat, we become. And it's true. Whoever had a diet feels the difference in between one and another. And having a balanced diet and having the moment and having the routine of food, if you can have it, try and go for it. Spend some time working around the diet. And one thing that I was doing was to plan the diet weekly. That would help me also to save money, because when you plan what you're gonna have during the week, you know what you're gonna buy, and you just not go picking up this and that. So planning the weekly food, the weekly plates, is gonna help you. It's gonna help you a lot to balance in your nursing life, which sometimes, most of the time, is very unbalanced, because if you don't work Monday to Friday, you're gonna have nights, you're gonna have long days, and it's difficult to find a balance. So we need to try and find a balance outside of what are the shifts that you're doing. Again, I would go back on the meditation, on the yoga, and I would say that the sport and anything that is related to physical health, is fundamental for what is your life outside of work. As you can see, I am pointing out a lot of aspects of what is the life outside of the nursing job itself, because I believe that what can help you during your day at work as a nurse is the relationship with your colleagues and how things are done, and I'm gonna focus on that in the next point. Okay.
Of course, because finally we are not our profession,
Exactly.
our life. If we not balance our life ourselves as a person,
exactly,
we cannot balance our life as a nurse.
When they have made some studies and measuring performance of people that they have a balanced, nice life outside of work, in comparison with those type of people that now they're called workaholic, that they work all the time, they do long hours in extra hours, and the performance for this side is much better. The person that works all the time and they never stop, they will never perform as much as somebody that is working well in that hours and has a life outside of it. So let's also think about that type of colleagues that would make so many extra shifts. Their performance will go low during the time, and it's very important, especially in our job, which is nursing, to have high performance and to perform well, and to be up to the what we do, because what we do can change people's life, literally.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and thank you for coming in to talk about this topic, because we want a light. So we must do, if we want to move abroad as a nurse, we must do it successfully and healthily, because just doing this, we can really take care better of our patients. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, so we know if we not succeed in our life balance as a migrant, we will not be able to perform 100% with our patients as a nurse. So it's true, we are migrant nurse. We bring our skill in other country for help people, but if we really truly help our passions in all around the world, we must take care of ourselves. This video, this channel is dedicated to this big topic. Move abroad, yes, to find a job, but move abroad successfully and healthily for succeed in a career while give a very good help to our passions.
Exactly. We have a finite resources, and those resources we need to use it well. We think sometimes of ourselves invincible, but we do really have finite resources. We don't know what's gonna be of the future. You better enjoy the present. You better enjoy what you have outside of work. You better enjoy your work. You better do what makes you happy at work. And I know that nursing is a vocation, and you need to, you love what you're doing if you're doing it, but we are also at the same time a category which should be more protected, should have more resources in their way, because we risk to burn out, as we talked about last time. Emotionally and physically, it's a very hard job sometimes, which gives you sometimes a lot of satisfaction, but sometimes it puts you down as well. So we should build the resources for us to perform 100% at work. And in order to do it in nursing, we also have to have a life which is balanced outside of work. So I want to say that we should also take time off, and the time off, your holidays, there's no money worth the time off you're gonna have outside of work. Please, please, please take holidays, take your free time, do it.
Take time for yourself, because sorry if I stop you again, just a little thing quickly. I want to reach those nurses who move abroad and send money at home, because they really do the extra miles on top of the extra mile the already nurses do for patients. So please take time to yourself, read books, spend time in nature, go for a walk, meditate, enjoy a phone call with some friend you know talk for a long time. Spend time for yourself. Do some hobby that make you feel happy, because hobby as well is not roast of time of money, but it's something that make you feel happy and enjoy your time. And take time for rest, because I know it's important that those nurses send money at home because probably they need, but if nurses don't take time for take care of self, they can push themselves for how long?
Not
Maybe
long.
just destroy themselves.
Yes.
So if they want to keep sending money at home, they must realize that they must take care for themselves, a recovery for a little bit.
We are, as human beings, we have the capability of being very strong, adapt very well, but we are also very frail. And this fragility sometimes is not perceived. And we only perceive it when probably we lose somebody very close to us that was unexpected. And it's very important to understand what our limits are. And when you push it and push it and push it and push it, then you finish the resources and you fall down. Exactly. And who's gonna take you back if you don't have the resources for yourself? So we need to insist on these topics, because I saw many of my colleagues pushing and pushing and pushing, and then ending up sick, ending up unhappy, ending up underperforming, and it's not going to work like that. I would like also, in a practical way, think about life in general, that you can divide in 4 quadrants. And in every quadrant, you will go for importance and urgency, okay? So you will have, in the first quadrant will be important and urgent things. And in that quadrant, you will fill it with all the activities there are urgent and important. So for example, an emergency, for example, in a normal day at work, in that quadrant would be the emergency of anything that would happen to one of your patients. Okay, so that has to be fulfilled and has to be reached at that right moment and has to be done because it's an important and urgent. On a quadrant 2, and you can apply in your life as well, and this is my favorite quadrant because it's the quadrant that are the things important but not urgent. These are all the activities that you put, for example, talking about nursing life, for example, are all the activities that are important, for example, for your future. It's all about maybe learning something new. It's not urgent, so people tend to neglect that aspect, but it is one of the most important aspects of nursing life, because maybe thinking about a course to do, something to maybe specialize in something, maybe to learn something new, maybe to invest time for your life outside of nursing that can help you the nursing job. And in this quadrant is one of the most important aspect of the life in general, and are the important but not urgent things, and we should focus a lot on this quadrant. Then we have the quadrant number 3, which is the quadrant of not important but urgent things. For example, you are during a shift in nursing in a ward, maybe the student nurse comes to you and she wants to know something that has to be fulfilled in 5 minutes, but is not that vital for the looking at the perspective of these 4 quadrants, and is urgent, yes, but it's not as important. Okay. So that we tend, as person, we tend to live in that quadrant. Okay. Most of the time. We tend to live in Q3 where the things are not very important, but urgent. So it's kind of a waste of time. You live also in a waste of time because you are taking time, for example, from the quadrant number 2, where things are important but not urgent. Yeah. Exactly. So we keep on delaying that things because there is more urgent things, small things that accumulate during the day, and when we spend so much time in that quadrant, we lose the time of the Q2, which is more important, right?
It's like, if I understood, it's like an illusion. I mean, you still live the present, but yes, you're not focused on the right important thing.
What's important.
So you're taking care to the present, but not the objective, valid thing on the present.
Exactly. Have you ever had the sensation at work when you have done so many small tasks that they filled up your entire day, and you haven't thought maybe about the day after, that you have to prepare maybe something for an important operation for a patient that then is going to accumulate on the next day? When those type of things, those type of activity that happens many times during
all of us, I think.
Exactly.
Maybe you just didn't chart what you've done.
Exactly.
You have to do at the end of the shift.
Exactly.
At the end of the shift, so you lose hour because.
Exactly. So we should spend time more on Q2 than Q3. I think it's about knowing how to manage your time, and it's not an easy task to do, but it is essential to have a balanced life at work. Of course, if something, an emergency happens in Q1, you leave everything and you jump to that. But how many times it happens only that in a day? It is not only that in a day. So we should move all the things around that, and then exactly. And the Q4 is the not important and not urgent things, which is all the leisure time of the day where you spend on social media and on books. And if you see the performance in a day, if you design a curve, you will see that you perform the best in the morning, is when we have more mental energy, when we are more rested, and we should leave the things of Q2 there, so in the second quadrant, and also deal with Q3, which are urgent but not important, but you can deal with those things there. Moving down during the day, then you have a bit of downing. You go down with the performance that you're having literally after lunch, because after you have eaten, your performance goes down. Then you have a bit more energy, so the curve goes up again, and in there, and most likely you're gonna have to deal with more Q3 than Q2, and then once it comes, usually a normal chart, you'll see that if you finish job around 5 or 6 p.m., that's when you have the most energy of your body. Some nurses can do, some nurses cannot, but you'll see that around 5 or 6 o'clock, that's when you actually can spend some time for yourself and do some sport and invest some time in that. And then the curve goes down again, and it's the night already. And in the end of the night, you should probably spend some time on something that is Q4. So it's some time with maybe social media, reading a book that takes you out of the reality, watching films. It doesn't require much energy. So when you think about your day, think about also, when is my best time to work on something that could help me for the future? How do I organize myself? The duty in nursing, the biggest, hardest things that you do thinking during the day in a shift, you should do probably in the morning and not leave it for the end of the day, because you don't have as much as energy. So these are the things that you should do on a personal level, when there are a few things that you can do on a personal level in the nursing field. But then I'd like to talk what is in a group level, so with your colleagues. As I said in the first episode, the colleagues are one of the most important aspect of your nursing life. When you have them, actually makes a lot of difference. And there are some things that makes the difference, because you need to invest time. You cannot just have everything from your colleagues right away if you haven't built anything during the relationship. But once they're there, is one of the most important things you're gonna have during your day. And I want to touch the conflict that comes up with colleagues at times, which are such a waste of energy.
Yeah, sometimes there
so I'm not against the conflict. That's the opposite. I like conflict when they are not so long, when there are two parts that they want to solve a conflict.
Actually, when they are engaging for a positive resolution.
Because I have met people that live their life in a conflict, and they like to stay in a conflict. What can you do during that situation where you are in front of that person? First of all, be honest with yourself. Do you really want to be there? And be honest with yourself also in what's the reason of the conflict, and try and be empathic and feel empathy, and try, even if it's a big effort, to enter in the other person's shoes. What's going to happen is that probably the reason you are defending so much probably will fall, or probably will get stronger. So when there is a conflict, what I always advise is, don't stay too long, because it can eat you from the inside. It's something that staying with a conflict is such a draining activity for your energy, especially at work. So what you should do is try and resolve it. And you need to also put down your defense and get a confrontation. It's gonna help. It's gonna help a lot to go in the other person's shoes, because you're gonna understand more, and probably from that conflict you're gonna gain an ally, somebody that you're gonna get on with very well. In some ways, there's no way you can change a conflict into something nice, into something good. But my point is, don't waste too much energy in a war, because sometimes the world where you're working is already a field of war, and you need all the energy, and it's enough for what you're doing, right? So it's a very delicate matter, and sometimes we are so emotionally tired because the day probably was too much, or because of many other reasons, that we enter in a conflict without even realizing. So please step back, have a look at the situation, put down your defense, enter in the other one's shoes, even if it takes you more time to do it, but do it, because you're gonna benefit by it. And it's very important. It's very important. I have had conflict in the past where the only thing I had to do was be empathic towards that person, and I understood that that person who was attacking me was just insecure. And it was just the fact of insecurities that would cause that way of approaching me that would create a conflict. And how basic is that? We all have our insecurities, and once we understand that we can go around it, it can change one way or another, and it can make the whole big difference. So I think when we have a conflict, especially with colleagues, it's very important. So I would like to touch a topic that is very tangible, and it's something very real when you are abroad as a nurse and you're living something abroad, is that the language barrier, the way of communicating, especially in a conflict, it's something that may stop us in first place to face a conflict, for the fear of not being understood, for the fear of the other one thinking that they don't understand us, that they're speaking a language that we don't get. It's something very, very real, because I think everybody felt sometimes that we would like to express and communicate something, that we are not able to do it in words. In the beginning will be like that, okay? You will have times where you find yourself in that position, but it's not gonna last forever.
No, absolutely. Everybody has an experience at this.
So I haven't said it in the first episode, but I'm gonna say it in here. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with what you are, and understand what is your situation. You're doing much more than probably your colleagues in their countries, in my country, in Italy, for example, were doing, because there is no language barrier, there's no the fear of communication. And when you don't know how to communicate, it's very difficult, but that will go. So don't you worry about that. There will be a sensation in the beginning that will go, and once you'll find yourself dealing with a conflict and express yourself, and maybe resolving the conflict is going to be so nice and such a nice satisfaction. At the same time, give yourself time, okay?
So maybe seeking for somebody help outside the conflicts that's still neutral, but that he's able to take the time to try to understand you, because maybe the other side, you are in conflict, so the other side doesn't want to spend time to understand you. So yes. And another thing I can say, this is what I experienced on myself at the beginning, and what I felt losing on confidence, because I always be a communicating person, but you know, when you are in your country, you can express yourself easily, so you
Yes.
can communicate, you make a relationship and everything, but this everything go down when you are in another country, know how to speak
Definitely.
fluently as before. So you're gonna lose confidence, but it will be just for a little bit.
Definitely. I think I encourage people to go abroad and to feel different realities, because it's something so enriching that nothing is going to give you that much in life, really. And but it is an extra effort that you have to do on
Yes.
our side. It was an extra effort in the beginning, but then the satisfactions will be much higher. I'm very satisfied of what I'm doing, and I think you're very proud of what you've been doing so far.
Yes, exactly.
Jumping onto what is it that I develop, what is my method, talking about the relationship in between colleagues. When I thought about it, I felt the need to find practical, simple, easy things which are from the positive psychology studies to apply into nursing, to have a better relationship in between each other. And I have divided in 4 different topics, which is kind, collaborative, expert, and happier together. I'm gonna start from kind. Kind is often a word that is related to nursing, and it's true, because we do represent, in my opinion, the kind face of the society. We are the kind face of the society, and we should believe so. And that's what sometimes drives me crazy, when nurses don't put themselves as high as they should be, as they deserve, no? And when I was thinking about kind and looking at the positive psychology studies, I said that one of the easy things to do is a simple act of kindness towards one of your colleagues, to do it once a day or once a week, without asking anything in return. So I was looking at this powerful tool that we have inside ourselves, because most of the nurses are able to do act of kindness without asking anything in return. And I was saying, why, instead of giving it, of course, to the patients or to the family or to whoever, why don't we invest that simple act towards our colleagues? Why don't we change and we start from that single thing? And that could be, for example, I used to love getting a pack of chocolate and give
Me too.
one simple chocolate to one
Change
of
the
my.
day. Absolutely, yes.
How strong and simple it's something like that. Why don't we commit to something like that? And studies show really something powerful. They actually boost your positivity, boost your sense of humanity, your sense of belonging to something. I think it happened to anybody that we walk in a road and somebody lose something, lose a wallet, lose anything, and you get it, you give it back, and that person feels so surprised that you've done something that, in my opinion, is so simple,
Yeah.
and you walk away and you feel that sensation that you have done something so great, so nice, that it's a game changer, in my opinion. And even more powerful would be if a third person would see what's going on in there. So imagine you are in your work life as a nurse, and you just do that act of kindness. You give a chocolate to your colleagues in need because he's stressing out and he's having the worst day of his life. You go there, you stop, you take it outside, you give a chocolate, and there is one other colleague in the corner looking at you doing that. It's a game changer, and it is so simple that we can do it. And I invite all the nurses colleagues we have around to do that, because it's going to be the first step to create a bond, to create a stable relationship, which, as I said, is fundamental for your life abroad or for your life in general. So that's the first act that I'm thinking about when I thought about my method. The second act is collaborative. And when I think about collaboration, I think about the time that we invest building a strong relationship with one of your colleagues. And in order to do so, you need to escape from the routine or not routine of your work and try to invest time outside of work. So sometimes what is needed is just some time out of work to talk about something that is not related to your day-to-day life, to see if there are some passion in common. And when I was talking with my trust about this, so the trust was giving us, probably in all the trust, they give some discount for restaurant, pubs, or
yes, in UK they usually do, yes.
So my idea was actually for the trust to get agreements with pubs or cafe, and say if you get two people that works together, they only pay one instead of two. So get two and pay one to incentivize the relationship outside of work of colleagues. And I found myself in that dinners that you do after work, or that beer that you have, that coffee with some of my colleagues, that I could share something very strong, because in the end of the day, what you share as a nurse is something very emotional, something very strong.
Absolutely.
And that builds something that is more valuable than anything. It builds a collaborative relationship with your colleagues. So that's the second point I'd like to say to people and to encourage people to build as a group, because the group winning, it's always better than individual winning. It gives more satisfaction. The third point instead is being expert. I see sometimes some of my colleagues, they don't believe as much in what they represent. Our expertise as nurses, it is so valuable, it is so important, that should be taken care of. How do I suggest to have it taken care of? Once a week in a group, sharing an article, an experience, something enriching that happened into your life to your colleagues. And it has been seen that doing so encourage the other people to do so. And it creates a bond in between a group of people that shares expertise. And it doesn't have to be only about nursing. Probably I'm passionate about books about self-help, and I can share that. I can talk about that. I can do it. And this change should come from the managers, should actually help the process of inviting the expertise, the knowledge of every single member of the team to come out and be shared. Nowadays, we have the knowledge to do it. We can do it. We have the technology. We can create groups on any platform of communication.
Exactly, on social media, on
WhatsApp. It is so easy to do it. Why are we not doing it? And this was one of my points, also to highlight how a nurse is an expert of what he's doing. and is an holistic expert, because
Absolutely.
sometimes we take the role as a priest, as a psychologist, as a family member sometimes, because we, as a friend, we do have many roles, and it is so valuable that we should show it more. Okay. And the last point, which is something that is inside of my vision of the world, is happier together, in the meaning of whatever you have done, whatever you have lived, share it. Positivity in general creates a ripple of positivity. It creates a reaction of positivity, and behaving like that and sharing your knowledge, sharing what you have, sharing what you have lived, it creates such a nice wave of events, which is very valuable, not only in the world of nursing, but for anybody. And we should always think of ourselves not as individual in a world, but as part of something bigger. And as you said, the planet, the universe, we belong to that. The universe belongs to us, and we should be part of that, and we should share what we have in order to achieve better results. And that's the base of my thinking and my method.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo.
You're welcome.
We went through a very important specific aspect of nursing life abroad. And thank you for your advice, because something that is very simple sometimes that can really affect our life. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you to have me. Really, it was a pleasure.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet you again for the next video. If you like this topic we're talking about, please subscribe to our channel Nursing Smooth, because we really lots of video about different topics as migratobles as a nurse. Thank you very much again. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
And we see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you. Bye.